Happening, YouTube? This is your girl Megan, coming back to you guys once again with another video here at the Hood Astro Queen, and I am going to be completing my third and final installment of how the zodiac signs handle conflict. So starting with Lord, I had to take a breath because we already know how Scorpios are giving it up, okay? If you have the misfortune of getting into an altercation, a conflict, a beef with the Scorpio individual, even if they are more on the lighter side, you are in for a whirlwind of vindictiveness, grudges. They're very similar to Taurus in that respect. They are opposite signs, so they do share certain commonalities. Now, Scorpio is co-ruled by both Mars and Pluto. Mars being obviously the planet of aggression, conflict. And then you have Pluto. Some astrologers don't acknowledge Pluto as being a co-ruler, like a lot of people who are into the Vedic astrology, but we do over here. So Pluto represents power. So when you add both of those together, Scorpios, unlike Aries, because they call Aries the higher octave of that Martian energy, aka the daytime soldier, the person who'll just come right out and fight you, right? Or be very up forth and straight coming with their aggression and whatever. Scorpio is referred to as the nighttime soldier, which is very, like I said, very meticulous, and is great at investigation, psychology, research. So when getting into it with a Scorpio, you can even expect to have your personal information be put on blast. Now, interestingly enough, y'all know when I say that, I have a little story. So on YouTube, once again, allow me to make an example out of the messy part of YouTube. I noticed that there were certain YouTubers like Mona Simone and then this VS girl who a lot of people, people just hated. They got such a visceral negative reaction from so many people across these YouTube streets. And the more I kind of got into some of their videos and looking at, what they were known for, both of these women have been accused of what they call doxing people, or they'll get into like a YouTube beef, right, with another YouTuber, and then they'll go look up this YouTuber's personal information on the streets, like where the person works, what schools their children go to. Like all of this that deals with 8th house matters. So investigation, research, things done in secret, in the dark, being very sneaky, very calculative, and just maniacal about things. And that's such a Scorpion trait. And ironically enough, both of the YouTubers are Scorpios. So, and in my opinion, are very much dark-sided Scorpios. So yes, be mindful of that, okay? If you have a child with a Scorpio individual, or, these could be the people who Scorpio baby mamas can call the government and be like, yes, Bob has a job, honey. I know he said he didn't, but he does, and I have proof. Run me my child support, okay? So there's that. Also, Scorpio is, because they're so obsessed with power, these people are willing to go to extremes to get it. And it's in a way that I discussed in my Mars Scorpio video is so scary, because it's like you never really know when the recourse is coming. All right, so a Scorpio person could cut you off, right? Y'all fall out, whatever. And if it's bad enough, they will sit and they will plan on how they're going to get you back, the things they're going to do, what to say. A great example of a Scorpio and the way they handle conflict is Drake. Look at the way Drake handled that whole Meek Mill thing, right? He was very, very strategic in the songs he decided to put out, what he did as far as, okay, well, we're going to go on tour. We're going to go to Philly, right? Meek's home city. And we're going to go and we're going to perform back to back in his city. And I'm going to throw up the middle finger and everybody's going to say, fuck Meek Mill. very strategic. And a lot of people have said it's, I mean, it's just kind of been known within the industry that Drake is not only very sensitive, but once you kind of get on his bad side, he purposefully does little funny things. Like, he and Nicki Minaj supposedly fell out. And a few days or weeks after that, he was on stage with Cardi B. You know, things like that, linking up with Meek Mill. So he's a great example of that strategic, sneaky, anything to regain that power, anything to be vindictive and spiteful after the fact type of Scorpio. These are people who literally are possessive, so possessive over friends, over family, even the lighter ones. Okay, they have to check themselves, but they are very possessive. So when you think that like y'all are gonna beef and then you're gonna come around their friends and everything be cool, nah. Nah, if I don't fuck with you, my friends don't fuck with you either. That's very much a Scorpio scorn. Shit. Another great example of a Scorpio during conflict is Jocelyn Hernandez, okay? She went as far as to tell the courts that Stevie J was molesting his daughter. Obviously, it wasn't true because you know the courts take things like that very seriously. They had to interrogate the child, move her from the home, do all of these like psychological evaluations, put the family through so much trauma and stress, and people don't know what to believe, just for it to turn around and not be true. And then for her to turn around and actually have a baby by him. So that's so dark-sided. That's so Scorpio. That's so Scorpio fighting tactics. These people will like literally say anything, stop at nothing in order to break you down if they really want to. And it doesn't have to be fighting. Like I said, I actually prefer a fight because it's like, okay, we release our pent-up physical aggression. And then as a Sagittarius, I'm all about like letting shit go. No. Things are never what they seem with a Scorpio. It's not. Another example of Scorpio and the way that they deal with conflict, because there are just so many, is Phaedra Parks from the Housewives of Atlanta. And she got dismissed from whatever season it was for lying and making up a rumor that Kandi wanted to drug and rape Portia Williams. Okay, and the irony in it was the fact that Kandi and Phaedra had been best friends. The only thing was they got into like some type of, and I don't really remember what it was about. It might have had something to do with Apollo. But the point is, she took a woman who was her best friend, formerly her best friend, and completely spin a narrative that could have possibly landed Kandi in jail or hurt her businesses and anything else under the sun. If that is not quintessential Scorpio in conflict, I don't know what is. So like I said, of course, depending on how evolved you are and if you're dark-sided or not, that's going to kind of tweak the expression of it. But at the end of the day, it's all about power with Scorpios. It's all about them feeling secure and them managing those very intense emotions. And that's what gets it so, it's so deep once you get into conflict with a Scorpio, because everything that they feel, their emotions, similar to Cancer because they are a water sign also, they feel it to the extreme. Okay, so if it's love, they love you to the extreme. But if it's hate, all right, if we beefing, if we are on the outs, they become obsessed with that. And if they don't check themselves, they can cause like destruction. Okay, they can be these are people who can even hurt themselves in order to hurt you. Burn the house down with both of y'all in it type people. And if it gets pushed to the limit, these people are willing to take you up out of here, okay? Scorpio is the sign of death. Scorpio is also the sign of criminality. So these motherfuckers can find 1,000,001 ways to send you on a one-way ticket straight to the promised land, okay? So let's just make no qualms about that. That's dark side or Scorpio fighting tactics 101. And like I said, they're very sneaky and manipulative. So a lot of times you probably won't even see it coming. And then finally, with Scorpio being fixated on power, a lot of times, of course, most times maybe you will find that this is coming into play when we're talking about like mental, psychological power. Okay, Scorpio does represent psychology. But once again, depending on the individual at hand, they are not above using physical power and even sex to weaponize and use against you. So you're in it with just the darkest of dark side Scorpios. Say you're in it with a Scorpio man, into it with a Scorpio man, or your ex is a Scorpio male and he's on the dark side and y'all are in a dispute. Like he's very capable of raping you, right? To assert his dominance over you. And the person that comes to mind when I say that is Ike Turner. Ike Turner, as Tina Turner so vividly displayed in her What's Love Got to Do With It bio film, actually, he would rape her whenever they would get into an argument. He would beat her. So there's that physical dominance. And then he would rape her, sexually dominating her. And yeah, it's just, it can get intense. It can go to a real nasty place dealing with Scorpios. And I've also noticed that due to just how low vibrational Scorpios can be, because they can be portals for demonic entities, possession, things of that nature, these people can actually unknowingly curse the people that they are at odds with. Now, sometimes this can be knowingly because Scorpio is also the sign of taboo and the occult. So many Scorpios are just naturally gravitated towards, astrology, psychic, mediums, metaphysics, things of that nature, even voodoo. So some of them actually do actively seek to cast spells on their enemy, which these two YouTubers that I'm talking about, these two Scorpio YouTubers, I have both heard them on many occasions talk about practicing dark-sided witchcraft, like casting spells and doing whatever, like what they know, like, yes. But then also the more common kind of curse is when they subconsciously curse somebody. So this happens when a Scorpio ruminates over an emotion, over a thought concept, a feeling, an experience with a person. And if it's negative, they will all of that negative energy into existence. So this could cause the person that they're into it with, beefing with, to become like ill. It can affect you physically. These people can bring on physical harm to you by way of their psychic kind of connection that they have, that psychic power that they have. And now, I know you're probably thinking, why she have Sierra up there? Why are Sierra and Russell up there? They're so sweet. Sierra is so kind. She leveled up. She prayed for him. Shut the fuck up, okay? I was getting annoyed with this during my Sierra and Russell Sinistry reading, where people were attacking me for even introducing the thought that Sierra could participate in some Scorpio-like war tactics. I'm not saying that she's a dark-sided Scorpio. That I don't know. But number one, I do know she's a Scorpio. Number two, I do know that she knows how to utilize that tool of manifestation for better or for worse. For example, before Sierra even got with Russell Wilson, what was the running joke in Hollywood? What was the running joke throughout the music industry as it pertains to her? People would always say, ooh, Sierra got that cursed pussy. Her pussy is cursed. Every man she with falls off or does this and does that. I know Charlamagne the God from the Breakfast Club specifically used to keep that little curse thing, that joke in his bag. Like it was a go-to liner whenever we were discussing Sierra. And mind you, these were men that, the relationship was over. She broke up with them or they broke up with her and whatever and what have you. And people would say, oh, well, after Sierra got with him, such and such went left. Their career went left. They did this. They did that. People said Bow Wow. Bow Wow's kind of always been lame, but people blamed Bow Wow's lameness on Sierra's coochie. They blamed Sierra's coochie for 50 Cent falling off because they dated allegedly back in the day. And then even with Future, a lot of people were saying, well, Future's music doesn't sound the same. And what. But now that Sierra is with Russell, somebody who she's seemingly in a happy relationship with, everything is on the up and up. He's getting all of these blessings. He just signed a $1 million-something deal, making him the most or the highest paid football player in the NFL. So what does this say? To me, it says that depending on the man that she's with and how that man makes her feel, Sierra has the ability to multiply that, okay? To multiply it and project it outwards, which is a very powerful tool of manifestation that only a fucking Scorpio, and she's a Scorpio South Node at that, okay? So Scorpio South Nodes are all about power, manipulation, control, alchemy, all of that shit. So sit up here and tell me that Sierra does not know how to manipulate and tweak the laws of the universe to be in her favor. She does. And after she in Future, which, I mean, he's also a Scorpio, but that's a different story for a different day. After they broke up, that power thing came into play. They're both at it with one another, okay? They're both trying to up or outdo one another, but Future went about it in a very open, misogynistic, chauvinistic kind of pig-headed way, right? Downing her and trying to roast her and put her on blast for providing a stable home with another man for your child. So obviously to the outside, we're rational thinking people, we're like, okay, that's some sucker shit. That's some lame shit. But I also started noticing that strategically, Sierra and Russell would be in certain places, right? They make it a point to share so much of their relationship online. Do you think it's just because they naturally want everybody in their business? No. Okay, they've kind of evolved into the face of relationships, like relationship goals, right? Women who are in failed relationships kind of look to Sierra as like the golden grain, the golden standard of, I'm gonna level up one day. I can do this. I'm gonna find the man for me, you know? And it just so happens that out of two Scorpios, you know, Sierra just came out on top. Her power plays were that much more covert and, you know, very kind of hard to detect. I detect that shit, though, because I'm a Scorpio Mars, you heard? So I see her for her works. I'm not saying she's a bad person, but she definitely fits into this category of, or isn't a great example, rather, of Scorpio handling conflict. Scorpio leveraging their ability to tap into the psychic realm and the underworld. And, I mean, control shit, dominate shit, even switch things around to be in your favor, okay? And subconsciously cursing your enemies and opponents in the process. Now, I know that was a long time. I spent a lot of time on Scorpio, but y'all will be all right? So, at this point, Sagittarius comes along and we're minding our business. We're doing our thug thizzle, you know, being adventurous, charming, and free without a care in the world until the unexpected occurs, all right? A bitch got beef. So now what we gonna do? How do we handle this as Sagittarians? Well, you have your Sagittarians, and a lot of us at that, who like to preach. So naturally, we are optimistic, right? Easygoing. Sagittarians are very much, like I said, the charmers of the Zodiac, and they don't really like to be boggled down by hot and heavy feelings and intense situations. So oftentimes, a Sagittarius will see some shit about to pop off, and they'll either, number one, leave, okay? If it's avoidable, we'll avoid it. But then, two, you have the type that will actually try to make this a teachable moment. Okay, Sagittarius is the preacher. It's the teacher. So oftentimes, even when we're dealing with our arch nemesis or some shit is about to pop off, there's a conflict at hand, we like to try to give the appearance that we're like above it all. And sometimes we might be above it all. But a lot of Sagittarians tend to try to like, okay, like For example, I get into an argument with my roommate about, I don't know, maybe I ate her food, right? As a Sagittarian, we're honest. So I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry I ate your food. I'll buy you some more food tomorrow, okay? And let's say my roommate accepts the offer, but she's still pissed off about it. A stereotypical Sagittarian would take that moment and try to preach on it and try to make it, like I said, a lesson. Like, well, I learned not to touch things that aren't mine. I didn't know how you were going to really react to it. If they're a dark-sided Sagittarius, they might just try to rationalize their behavior without taking accountability. But that's a different story. So yes, I acknowledge, yeah, I ate the food without really understanding how it would affect you. And just in theory, in life, when you do that, so many things could go wrong. But then also, when you become overly attached to things, kind of like food, you put yourself in a position to be manipulated. And you're looking like, bitch, what the fuck? Why are you preaching to me? Like, and then even the Sagittarians who aren't necessarily preachy might find themselves in an argument or a situation where they're pointing out kind of like the moral contradictions and the flaws in the way that the other person thinks, and trying to appeal to their sense of just, I guess, philosophical evolution. Like, let's learn from this. Well, why do people do this? Why, that's unnecessary. And why we gotta, and for some people, like, it only pisses them off even more. Sagittarians are really good for acting dumb. Like, we'll act dumb. Like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? Like, huh? What do you mean? Like, I didn't even know you were gonna react that way. What are you talking about, Sizzy? Like, you have those. But then also, you have the Sagittarians who actually might even find themselves in the midst of conflict because we are so honest to a fault. So much like Virgo, who, as I stated, might offer unsolicited advice, Sagittarians are literally known for this, right? And being just very brutal honesty. And as a result, they can make enemies or they can rub people the wrong way. And a lot of times, they don't understand. They don't understand why. But because Sag is still mutable fire, once pushed to the limit. And the key with the Sagittarians are when Sagittarians feel like they can't really hold on to that optimism that they normally are used to having, right? Looking at the bright side of things. Yes, we're having a disagreement, but, tomorrow I'll wash my hands. It'll be over, because Sagittarians get over, we don't hold grudges. When we lose that ability to keep looking at the bright side of things, that's when it becomes, it crosses from like petty to being dangerous, okay? Sagittarians, much like Virgos, much like Gemini and Pisces, are capable of committing extreme, horrendous violence without even like understanding the magnitude of what they've done after the fact. Sagittarius can spaz out, and then once they get it all out of their system, they're cool. Another thing that Sagittarians tend to do during conflict is hold themselves to a different standard than the other person, which can make us come off as hypocritical. But yeah, so for example, watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta with Nene Leakes on it. They just had their reunion, and Nene is a dark-sided Sag in every sense of the word. And basically, she spent the whole season shitting on other people, being mean to other people, making other people's joyous life occasions about her, but then gets on stage at the reunion and rants and raves and snaps and whines that nobody is having her back. And when people point out the inconsistencies that she's done, she literally, she's incapable of accepting that. She makes up an excuse as to why they're tripping all the time. It's never her fault, right? Everything she does is correct. But when you could do this same exact thing, it's a problem. Even when it came to the girls being late in Tokyo. In Japan, you're literally offending a whole motherfucking culture by being late. Ask me if Nene ass was late. Nene was late as hell, but then she turned around and threw Portia under the bus and kind of said very slick remarks about Portia's pregnancy just because Portia arrived late to one of her parties. Stuff like that. That's very much Sagittarian, the more unevolved ones anyway, during conflict with other people. Another example of this is Shawnee O'Neal from the Basketball Wives. She and Evelyn are actually both Sagittarians. However, Evelyn is more so of the Sagittarian who is pushed to the limit and pops off. So she utilizes a lot more of that mutable energy thing going on. Very passionate, very fiery, very spicy. And I mean, we'll lay hands on you, lay bottles on you, you know, in that order. However, Shawnee took more of the hypocritical Sagittarian approach by sitting herself, propping herself up so high on this platform because she's the executive producer and pretty much kind of belittling certain girls that she doesn't like by saying that, you know, they're childish and they're messy and whatever. But all the while is literally involving herself and is helping to curate this mess. Like, you're keeping up mess too, sis. And then when people call her out on it, she, you know, it's a hot mess. This entitlement, this feeling like they're above the law or we're above certain situations. So if you want to beef with a Sag, you might run across the right one and we might, you know, come off above, a little snooty, fluty, cutie, tootie. Okay, we're above you. We're above, the rules don't apply to us. Okay, so this could actually make for, if you have one of the more aggressive Sages, might be more willing to do certain things to you or even say certain things to you and feel absolutely justified for it. Because it's like, bitch, I am who I am. What the fuck you thought? What the fuck you thought? I can do it. You can't. Get over it. And I'm just being honest. How about that? Now, Capricorn. Capricorn is kind of similar to Scorpio when it comes to handling conflict in the sense that Capricorns are very strategic, okay? Capricorns have this way of dealing or going about things that doesn't upset their reputation because Capricorns are the natural rulers of the 10th house, which does deal with your reputation as well as career and status. So these people in conflicts can even be the type of people to use and throw around their status in order to slight you. Somebody who comes to mind who's not a Capricorn per se, but they are a Capricorn Mars, and Mars is your fighting style, is Nicki Minaj. So back when she and Cardi B were in the thick of it and people were like, oh, Nicki is stopping bags, Nicki is stopping bags. That's a very Capricornian kind of war tactic to engage in. Something that's going to, you using your celebrity and your status to help bring somebody else down a peg. And depending on who you are exactly, they might not even pay your beef any mind because Capricorns can be, on the more negative side, can be elitist, all right? And they can kind of look at people like, if you're not worth it, if you're not worthy of it, if you're not really on my level, should I really give you any energy kind of thing. But don't sleep on a Cap, okay? Because Capricorn is another sign of the military. And when provoked, these people can be relentless. They can be relentless until they prove their point. So, I mean, that involves anything and however you want to take it there, whatever you want to escalate the situation to. If you push a Capricorn to their limits, they will meet you. They will meet you right where you're at all day long. So I still got 2 signs left. So we have Aquarius and Pisces, but I am tired, okay? And I got stuff to do. So I'll come back later on tonight and wrap it up with the 4th and final installment of the series. I promise that'll be the last one. And yeah, so y'all drop a comment down below. Share your experiences being in a conflict with either one of these signs discussed today. And as always, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others And until next time, I holla.